Yes, in continuation, children, if the halogen is same, then boiling point increases with increase in the size of R group, I said. Okay. So C3H7 being bigger in size, this will have higher boiling point than CH3Cl. Now, if the halides are isomeric in nature, then what happens? Say, for example, here you have chlorobutane, this is 2-chlorobutane, and this is 2-chloro-2-methyl propane, is it not? So all of them are having the same molecular formula, but then what is different is their structural formula, right? In such a case, what you have to understand is boiling point decreases with increase in branching. Now here it's a 4 carbon chain. Here again you are having a 4 carbon chain and chlorine is there at 2. And here it's a 3 carbon chain and chlorine is there at the middle carbon, and one more alkyl group is also there. So there is more and more of branching here, and you see here this is almost looking spherical, is it not? The molecule is appearing to be spherical. Now between two spheres the area of contact is minimum, right? That is why the boiling point of the highly branched haloalkane is the least. Okay, so with increase in branching, surface area decreases and van der Waals force of interaction, that will also decrease, and the molecule assume spherical shape, and that is why boiling point decreases. So boiling point decreases with increase in branching. Okay, 351, 341, 324. Okay, now in the case of boiling point of haloarenes also, boiling point increases with increase in the size of halogen for the same aryl group. If the aryl group is same and the nature of halogen that is different, then accordingly with increase in halogen, boiling point will increase. Now if you are taking dihalobenzenes, the boiling point has been found to be almost the same, but melting points are slightly different. Now the reason behind why melting point is having different value, it may be because that the para isomer is more symmetrical, it fits into the lattice properly, so intermolecular forces are stronger and hence melting point is higher. Now come to density. Fluorides and chlorides are lighter than water, and bromides and iodides, they are heavier, and density increases with increase in the number of halogen or carbon or atomic mass or atomic mass of halogen, obviously. Okay, now when you consider the solubility, in the case of solubility, what you expect is Rx being polar, it should be soluble in water. But surprisingly, what has been found is Rx is insoluble in water. Now, why Rx is insoluble in water? Your textbook is giving you a very precise answer. See, whenever any substance is soluble, then the interaction between the substance and water is higher. That is why solubility is there. You call that as intermolecular hydrogen bonds are formed with the molecule, so solubility increases. But in this case, in spite of Rx being polar, why the interaction is not significant? That is because, see, whenever there is an attractive interaction, energy is released. So this release of energy is an exothermic reaction, and exothermic reactions are spontaneous ones. So you can account for it. But then in the case of Rx and water, the interaction between the two is releasing less energy. Okay, less energy is released when new attractions are set up between haloalkane and water molecules. And these are not as strong as the original hydrogen bonds in water. Okay, if you consider water-water interaction and Rx-Rx interaction and Rx-water interaction, if this interaction is stronger than this or this, then only Rx will be soluble in water. But then this is releasing less energy, okay, than the amount of energy released during water-water interaction or Rx-Rx interaction. So if these two are more favorable by releasing more energy, obviously this is not a favorable one, and that is why you say that haloalkanes, they are not soluble in water, or they are less soluble in water. Whereas haloalkanes, they tend to dissolve in organic solvents. Of course, like dissolves like. So you may expect that haloalkanes may be soluble in organic solvents. But here what is the condition? Rx is polar, but organic solvents are non-polar. So in that case, how a polar compound be soluble in a non-polar compound if you consider? In this case, what they have found is this Rx-Rx interaction is equal to organic solvent interaction is equal to Rx organic solvent interaction. Since all of them are of the same kind or to the same extent, you find that Rx is soluble in organic solvent. Okay, so this is the reason behind it. Okay, so please read it from your text. And then now we'll have to go to chemical properties of haloalkanes. Now these haloalkanes, they undergo basically 4 types of reactions, or I can say one is nucleophilic substitution, then reaction of alkyl halide with sodium and dry ether, which you call it as Wood's reaction, then reaction of magnesium and dry ether, which will give rise to Grignard reagent, isn't it? This will give rise to Grignard reagent, RMgX de dega, okay? And reaction with alcoholic KOH, which is also called as beta elimination. This also you have studied in 11th class. Okay. Now under nucleophilic substitution, if Rx is treated with any of these, then what are the products formed? And which is the nucleophile which is replacing the X minus here? If it is KOH or NaOH, the nucleophile that is used is OH minus. So nucleophilic substitution, what does it mean? A stronger nucleophile replaces a weaker nucleophile. Only then it can be substituted, isn't it? The incoming one, if it is stronger, then only it can substitute. So OH minus substitutes X minus. Why? Because this O of OH will form a stronger bond with carbon of R. Okay, that is why it is able to replace it. Same way, RO minus, alkoxide ion, then NH2 minus, then Cn minus. Now Cn minus is an ambident nucleophile. You have to remember this. What is meant by an ambident nucleophile? See, this is your cyanide. Okay, now 2 electrons and a triple bond with nitrogen, and nitrogen is holding a lone pair of electron. Now here carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All these bond pairs, you see, it's all made up of a pair of electrons, right? So carbon is surrounded by 5 electrons, so it is holding a negative charge. And in this case, what they have done is one pair of electron, how it is adjusted, see. Only 2 pairs, double bond is there, and this pair of electron is shifted here. So this pair has come as a lone pair. Okay, previously it was 1 pair. Now by shifting this, there are 2 pairs now. Now by having 2 pairs, now nitrogen is having 6 electrons around it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So nitrogen is supposed to have 5, it is having 6, so there is a negative charge on it. Okay. Here carbon is supposed to have 4, it is having 5, so it is having a negative charge on it. So now in this cyanide ion, carbon is holding a negative charge, so this can act as a nucleophilic center. And nitrogen is holding a negative charge, so this can act as a nucleophilic center. That is why such nucleophiles are called as ambident nucleophiles, because the attack may take place from either of the atom in that particular species. Such compounds or such species are called ambident nucleophiles. The site of attack may be any atom in that group. Same way you have this AgNO2. This is also an ambident nucleophile where nitrogen can also act as a nucleophilic center. Oxygen can also act as a nucleophilic center. Okay, so this is also an ambident nucleophile. Right. Now again come back. All the compounds with which Rx is treated I have given, and the corresponding product also I have given. Just go through it. With ammonia you will get amine, with KCN you will get cyanide, but with AgCN you will get isocyanide. Okay, now why with KCN you are getting cyanide, with AgCN you are getting isocyanide? Again come back here. Now this carbon is holding a negative charge. So in the case of Rx, when it is treated with KCN, the C negative part is attacking the R plus. Why? Because this C would make a bond with the C of R. So CC bonds are stronger. That is why with KCN you are getting cyanides. But with AgCN what happens? This AgC bond is covalent. Okay. So this R plus, it is forced to attack only through nitrogen because this nitrogen is electron rich. Okay, because of the lone pair of electrons, this is acting as a nucleophilic center. So the carbon of Rx will seek an electron rich center, that is nitrogen. That is why RNC is formed. Later on this AgC bond will break. So you get isocyanide. Same way in the case of NaNO2 and AgNO2 also the same concept is used. If it is NaNO2, then it is RONO. If it is AgNO2, the compound formed is RNO2. Then with silver salt of acid, you will get the corresponding ester. With lithium aluminium hydride, you will get an alkane. With alkyl amine, you will get a secondary amine. With sodium iodide, Ri, with alkyl lithium, you will get an alkane. So this is about nucleophilic substitution. So in brief, I have given you these notes you are already having. Okay. With KCN you get RCN, with AgCN you get RNC. With NaNO2 the ionization is taking place here. So O will be left with a negative charge. So the attach of C will be with O. That is why you are getting RONO. Whereas in the case of AgNO2, this AgO bond is again covalent. So this R will seek an electron rich center, that is N. That is why RNO2 is formed. Okay. So same way you are getting the respective products. So this is about your nucleophilic substitution reaction.